everyone, Jessica here with Crochetingcreations.com, and today we are going to be working the vertical chevron beanie that uses the Caron X Pantone yarn, 2 skeins, and I've already broken my skeins down, so I apologize for not showing you. I have an I 5.5 millimeter hook to work the brim and a K 6.5 millimeter hook for the top of the beanie. And the beanie is worked in back and forth rows. It's actually worked in the round, and you join and then turn on each round. So I will show you that now. And the pattern does include a graph that shows you which direction you're working and where to join at and where to turn, so it kind of helps for guidance. Okay, so for the pattern we are going to start with the I hook. And using one of the colors of your choosing. So you'll be using one color for the brim and then the other 4 colors for the body of the hat. So I chose the darker color. So you're gonna single crochet 8 times. And then you're gonna turn and single crochet in the second chain from hook, and I prefer to flip it over and do it in the back side. Okay, so there are 7 single crochets. So then you chain 1 and turn, and then single crochet in the back loop. So that's the front loop, and this is the back. And then you continue to do that for 58 rows, excuse me. Okay, so now we have completed the 58 rows, and I'm going to join these rows together. So in order to do so, we're gonna turn. I usually chain 1 here and turn, and then back loop, and then chain. So slip stitch that together. So going through the back loop of the last row and the chain from the first row. And then go ahead and finish off, and that is the last of that color. So that should use the whole one. So I'm actually going to take and cut this down to shorten it so it's not in my way. Okay, so now we are ready to work the body of the hat, and we are switching to the K 6.5 millimeter hook. And I have all my yarn colors lined up the way I want them in the pattern. I prefer to have contrasting colors next to each other so that you can see the zigzags more in the chevron. I have also placed stitch markers every quarter of the beanie, the brim, excuse me. And we're going to be placing 18 single crochets between each stitch marker. So let's get started. In this pattern, I try to save as much yarn as I possibly could. So I'm using small tails. I'm going to slip stitch in the row next to the stitch marker. Chain 1, single crochet, and then I'm going to single crochet for 9 stitches because we change colors every 9 stitches. So that's what keeps the graph going. 3, 4. And the fibers sometimes split and they can be hard to pick up. I grabbed it from the back side to kind of get the fibers all together, and then I took my hook out and pulled it from the front side. 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So now we're going to work all the way to the last step of that stitch and grab the next color to complete that stitch, just dropping the white behind us, just letting it go, and if it kind of gets in your way, just tighten it a little bit. I don't know why it's so hard to get into that stitch there. Six, 7, 8, and 9, and we are to the next stitch marker. So you may have noticed that a couple of times I placed single crochets between the rows. So I placed one on the end and then one in between, just to kind of fill in and get that extra stitches and the increases. Because we are going from 58 rows of the brim to 72 stitches of the body. And so if we just did one single crochet in the end of each row, we'd only get 58 stitches. So we are increasing. So I'm going to switch colors. Take the stitch marker out. So simply just put, drop that behind you. Tighten these balls up. Okay. And we're ready. And we're crocheting over this small tail from the color we're changing to, just so we can weave it in as we go. There's 9. Move that to the right. I find that easiest. If you work, you put your last color work to the right and just keep moving them over as those on the right get crowded. For some reason, I am having a really hard time in getting in that one row. Shoo. 4, 5. 6. 7. 8. I was going to put a stitch in between there, but then I realized that 9 gets me right to the stitch marker. Okay, so take that stitch marker out. I'm going to switch to the next color in my sequence, which, if you remember, I started with color white, so this will be the next one. So continue that for the back side. Okay, so now I joined to the first stitch of the round. So join there. I always pull my slip stitches tight. That's just a habit. So now we are going to turn. So some graph patterns would continue to work across and just carry your yarn. I tried that with this pattern. I will tell you, the beanie was so tight just from carrying the yarn. It just made extra tension. It was too tight. I didn't like how it turned out. So basically with turning, it keeps you from having to carry your yarn the whole time. And it doesn't waste yarn too, so, which is good. And we're done with these stitch markers, so we can put them away. Okay, so we are on, so this is the right side of the beanie, the pattern. So we are on row 2. So we are going to turn. So when you turn, everything shifts. So basically we're going to turn and work. I'm just going to turn it inside out. I think that's probably the best. Okay, so we are going to turn. And it says to slip stitch in the last stitch of previous round. So if you look, the last stitch of the previous round, we're still in this gray color, same color we finished off on. The last stitch of the previous round is right here. So that is the last stitch I worked. So I'm going to slip stitch in there. So the best way to do this, because we don't chain, is just to pull this across and slip stitch. And then it says slip stitch in the next stitch. So it says this will move the colors to the left 2 stitches. So 1, 2. Okay, so chain 1, single crochet and next stitch in each stitch around, changing colors every 9 stitches. So just like the first round, change colors every 9 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm going to show you my trick. So we're going to pull this up and crochet over it. So see how we're carrying it? And we're going to crochet over for those 2 stitches. So it says in the pattern, in the notes, it says to carry your next color, your next color over these 2 stitches. So that's what I mean. So you're going to pick that up, carry it over those 2 stitches. So now when you drop the gray or whatever color you're working and pick up the pink, it's right here for you. So there we go. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I guess I didn't start at my join where my beanie or my brim joined. Whoops. Okay, so there's 7 and this is gonna be 8, so I'm gonna carry this color with me. Close that up. And there's my 9. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 9, and I'm going to drop that color and pick up the next. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Same thing. Carry this over 2, so 8, 9. Drop that color. I'm going to put it over here. Pick up the next. There's 7. And put this in its place, because if you look at the stitches, it would go right here. So I'm put it in its place, color, crochet over that color. There's 7 right in the last color of the gray, and then crochet over that color, pull that tight. There's my 9th stitch of the gray. I'm picking up the pink and going to work the pink. And I like to take and put these to my right to get them out of the way. And I will tell you, this will tangle and it will get very annoying. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's see, okay. Crochet over that. Pull it tight. 9, drop the pink, pick it up. Dropping that color, picking up the white. Okay, I'm getting all tangled up here. To the right, to the right. I'm still kind of twisted. There we go. We're going to turn anyway, so I'm not going to spend too much time untwisting all that. Because it's just going to get twisted again. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is the last stitch of the white. Now, this is another question. So we placed 2 slip stitches right here. So 1, 2. See those 2 stitches? 1, 2. We are going to crochet over those slip stitches into the single crochet from the first row. So let me repeat that. We're going to crochet over the slip stitch into the single crochet on those 2 stitches. So into there, 1, into there, 2, join to the first stitch. And the chain 1 kind of gets hidden, so perfect. Okay, so this is the wrong side of the hat. This is the inside. So, hope this is making sense. I know this pattern is kind of confusing, maybe really confusing. I am calling it an advanced pattern. It is worked with multiple colors. Those of you that are comfortable with graphs are gonna be more comfortable with this pattern. So if it is confusing to you and you still do not understand after reading the pattern, looking at the chart and the diagram that's on the pattern, you could always reach out to me. So we are going to move on to row 3. Okay, so I've turned, and this is round 3. It says chain 1 and single crochet in the same stitch. So here is my 2 joins. My 2 slip stitches. I joined to this first gray, I slip stitched into the next gray, chaining one, I'm going to single crochet in the same stitch. Can you see that okay? So there's 2 slip stitches there on the back side. I'm going to single crochet in that same. So 1, and again we're single crocheting into the single crochet over the slip stitch. So see that? Okay. So basically the joins on this beanie are going to be invisible. You won't be able to see it. There's not going to be any line of where you've joined. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Drop that behind, pick up the next. So just like carrying the yarn, we're bringing this over to the right 2 stitches. So you kind of want to loosen that up because you're going to crochet over it. So crocheting over where you just carried it to the 2 stitches. See that? Okay, so there's 2, 5, 6, 7, 8. Same thing. We get all this kind of moved out of the way so you could see. Okay, so same thing. We're going to work the 9th stitch right here. Grab that 9th stitch, pull that over, and we're bringing it over to the right 2 stitches. So then we're going to crochet over that. So that's carrying the yarn over. When I say carry the yarn over the 2 stitches, that's what I mean. See, you cannot see where you're picking it up. Grabbing that. Same thing. Three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We're going to grab the white. And like I said earlier, if you move things to the right as you go, keeps them out of the way. Okay, so again, we carried it, we brought it over the 2 stitches to us. We're going to crochet over it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Sometimes that gets out of control and you could just pull tight. So crocheting over the yarn. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Eight and 9. So now we join. Let's take a look at that. And I really recommend to untangle your yarn every time you're done with a row. Okay, so we are all done with row 3, and it says for rows 4 and 5 to repeat rows 2 and 3. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I will see you for round 5. Okay, so I am finished with round 5, and this is the right side of the beanie. It does curve a little bit. That's because the brim has more stretch, so no need to worry about that. So we're going to continue on to round 6, and it says in the pattern to slip stitch into next stitch before turning on round 5. So I have not turned yet. I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch into that next stitch like the pattern says, and then it says before turning, so I'm going to go ahead and turn. So it says chain 1, single crochet and same stitch. So this is the same stitch. This is the stitch that I just slip stitched into. So we're going to crochet into that same one. So be careful that you're doing this step because you will lose a stitch. So again, if you look at the back side, there's my join in the first white stitch, and then my slip stitch into the next white stitch. I chain 1, and there's my 2 white stitches, and I'm going to crochet into the first one. And then, of course, we're crocheting over the slip stitch into the single crochet. Do that on the same way for the next one. So there's the 2. So it moves the stitches, the colors, 2 stitches to the right, because we're getting the chevron, so we're working back that way. All right, and it's actually the inside of the beanie, so it's backwards, but it's the wrong side. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and continue the same steps that we've taken before. Grab that next color, crochet over it. We're going to continue that all the way around for round 6. And like I said, I always count my colors too. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. 6, 7, 8, 9. I always recommend to count because if you skip one of these colors, if you accidentally add 8 or add 10, you're going to be off on your chevron. So on your zigzags, your colors are going to be a little off. It's going to look a little different. So, and you'll probably get lost. So I would say to continue to count each color that you work. All right, so I'll continue to do this all the way around, and I will meet you at the end. Okay, so I am finished with round 6. I have joined, and it says to turn. So I'm going to go ahead and flip the beanie inside out to turn. So this is the right side of the pattern, just like round 7 tells us. So we are going to slip stitch into next stitch, into the last stitch of previous round. So the last stitch I worked was this white one. It's right there. I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch into it, and the best way to do that is just to pull your yarn that way, slip stitch, and then the same for the next stitch. And chain 1. So there's 2 slip stitches. We're going to chain 1 and then start working into the next stitch. Seven, grab that, or crochet over that I should say, for 9. All right, we're going to continue this all the way around till we get to the very end, and we are going to single crochet over those first 2 slip stitches that were made, and then we'll join. So I will see you at the end. Okay, so I am at the end of round 7. I'm going to single crochet in the last gray stitch. That stitch is hard to see because that's where we joined and turned, so it gets kind of hidden. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then these are the 2 slip stitches from the beginning. So I'm going to crochet over those into the single crochet from the previous round. So 1, do the same with the next one, 2, and join. So there, this is the right side of the beanie. So there you can see the chevrons going that way, and then it's going back that way. So all the way up. So now row 8 says to repeat row 6. I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'll meet you back for round 9. Okay, so here is row 8 completed, and I am ready for row 9. I joined and I turned already. So now it says to slip stitch. For row 9 it says slip stitch in the last stitch of previous round. So that is this white color. That's my last stitch. Slip stitch in the next stitch, chain 1, single crochet in next. So actually the only difference between round 7 and round 9 is on the end of round 7 you join and then you slip stitch into the next stitch and then turn, and on round 9 you just join and then you go back and start the pattern all over. So you start working round 2 and then repeat. So that's the reason why you don't join and then slip stitch into the next stitch on round 9, because you're going to be going back the other way. So I will continue to work round 9, and then I will show you what it looks like when I'm finished. Okay, so I have finished round 9. So there you can see that is the full completion of the V. So now you repeat rounds 2 through 5, which will work the chevron back to the right, and then rounds 6 through 9, which will work it back to the left. So you repeat that sequence until the beanie measures 8.5 inches tall, which is approximately 28 rows. So continue working, and then once you get to the top, I have photos on the pattern, but once you get to the top, you will leave that open, cut all the strands a couple inches to weave in, leave one strand that's long so you can close the top with, and then you will take a needle and sew in and out of the single crochet stitches and cinch it all together. So you will just close the top that way. So I will continue to work this and I will show you what it looks like. Okay, so now I have finished all 28 rows, and I have cut my strands of all of the other colors and weaved in the ends. So now I'm going to take one long strand and weave in and out of these single crochet stitches to cinch the top closed. Okay, so I'm all the way back to the beginning. So I'm going to pull it tight the best that I can. So you'll notice that it's not going to close all the way, so you might just got to get it the best that you can. And then I recommend here to do a little bit of an X to kind of close the middle. And then I already made my fur pom-pom, and this is just out of fur fabric that you can buy at Joann Fabrics or Walmart. Any of the craft stores pretty much sell the fur fabric, and it's very, very inexpensive. You can purchase a quarter of a yard for I think about $3 or $4 is what I bought this for, and it makes a lot of pom-poms. And then I have a video, I have a post on how to make these faux fur pom-poms. So I attached it to a needle. So I'm just going to sew it to the top. So it's going to sit right on top like that. All right, and there we have it.